Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. DraftKings ReignMakers is the new game in town, and a lot of people are playing. Look, it scratches a lot of itches. There's a card collecting angle. You get to play your cards that you hold in your collection in games. The question that people have asked me most, I've had a lot of people that I've been friends with in this industry for years that have sent me DMs. They said, hey Al, I see that you're putting out content on ReignMakers. I'm worried that it's a pay-to-win game. I don't want to compete, and then I'm at a massive disadvantage against some players that are much higher, much better bankrolled than I am. Much higher bankroll, and they're just going to spend and get all the best players. So I'm going to dive into all of that on this video and explain my thoughts on it. The TLDR, for those of you who just want the answer to the question, my opinion, yours may be different, yours may vary, you're free to your own opinion. My opinion is that DraftKings ReignMakers is a pay-to-play game, but not a pay-to-win game, so to speak, because of certain contexts that they've put in play in terms of how the cards and lineups have to be made, the contests that they can be entered into, and the fact that this is not just a fantasy football game, it's also a market game. Not unlike Madden Ultimate Team, FIFA Ultimate Team, one that has already existed in the NFT space for over a year called Sorare, which deals with soccer cards for European soccer leagues. This is NFL football and NFL fantasy football. So that market aspect is really what takes it to a different level, at least for me. I think that your most profitable look for this game is to work the market. We have our own group that is going after doing that, but I'm going to dive into everything for you right here. So thank y'all for being here. Let's go.
He's a legend.
Here we are on the DraftKings ReignMakers splash page. As I said, you're going to have to pay to play this game, but I don't feel that it's pay to win, even though there is that aspect. Well, somebody who has more money can just buy more cards or buy better cards, right? And then I have to play against them. Well, you don't. And like, here's the reason. There's 5 different tiers. So if I go over to the lobby here, at the ReignMaker tier, cards are extremely expensive. I can take a look at my collection, which I believe I have over here. There's the ReignMaker tier, where these are like the most rare cards. There's only 8 of them in total. A few of them are one-of-ones. Then there's the legendary tier, 50 of each card for the most part. Then you come down to elite, rare, and core. Core being the least expensive of the entire group. All the cards in the set go in each subset, in each tier, but they have rules and they have kind of herded people into their buy-in level. And the way that certain things work kind of keep the high dollar players, the really high bankrolled players who want and desire to spend a lot of money on this game, away from the lower bankroll players. I'm not saying that you can't play at the lower tiers, but it's much different than like normal DraftKings DFS, where you can make one lineup and then enter it in every game into the lobby. Can't do that. You have to hand build each individual lineup right now in ReignMakers, and that's going to kind of keep people, you know, they're going to get in where they fit in. Taking a look at the market, these are all secondary market prices. These are cards that are posted on the DK marketplace, specifically at the core tier. This is the lowest, the most populous cards. There's a lot of them out there for each player. And if you wanted to buy these cards, these are the superstars. I'm going to get into what the superstars are, why they're powerful, and what makes them a little bit weaker all at the same time. They did a good job balancing. DraftKings did a very good job balancing this. So if you're playing at the core tier, $11 for a Harris, $12 for a Dalvin Cook. You want Debo, he's $13. Austin Eckler core, $13. You know, Christian McCaffrey, $14 for a core card. Now the serial numbers do matter. The lower serial numbers that your lineup has in total are going to be the tiebreaker in case of a tie. So if you have a bunch of low serialed core cards and you get into a tiebreaker, which is going to come into play, but it's going to come into play more often, let's say in showdown lineups where you get 4 players instead of 5, and it's all between 2 teams. So there's a very limited amount of lineups you can build. The lower serial numbers are going to be more powerful and therefore more expensive on the marketplace. But looking at the lobby, I'm going to start at the ReignMaker tier. As you saw, I have the 2 ReignMaker cards that are needed. You need 2 ReignMaker cards, and then you can pull up 3 legendary cards. There's a caveat here. There's the superstar cards that we talked about, right? We can sort these by the ReignMaker cards to show you the difference in price at the ReignMaker tier versus the core tier. ReignMaker superstars, extremely expensive. Yeah, well, like there's nothing I can do. If I play at the ReignMakers tier and somebody wants to go get like Austin Eckler and Derrick Henry and Cooper Kupp and have a lineup with Patrick Mahomes and Jamar Chase, I'm not going to be able to compete with that. It's impossible. I agree with you that it's impossible, but maybe not for the reasons that you realize. You can only really play one superstar per lineup. So you have to make decisions when you're building these lineups. Sort by my cards only. As I said, you can call up one of the players that's available on the slate who's a legendary, but looking at my cards, I have running backs that are in that ReignMakers tier, and you need 2 ReignMakers cards. So that's going to fill my running back and my flex. Now I have to find either non-superstar ReignMakers or I have to pull up legendary cards, which makes it extremely pricey. As I said, it's pay to play, but not necessarily pay to win. Because of the prize pools that they have, looking at these games, you saw what the prices are, but looking at the payout structure, are you going to enter this tournament with the price of those cards 15 different times? You know, looking at the optimal lineup that I posted before, this is the optimal lineup right now for week 1's main slate on DraftKings. Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Joe Mixon, right? Very simple, most points expected from these players. Just a little banter post. There was a reply to this here that basically said this lineup would cost $13,282 to build in Legendary, or $3,900 to build in Elite. If you want to join our community of ReignMakers players, and as well as understanding our investment strategies for this game to try and run the ReignMakers market on a week in, week out basis, buys, sells, and holds, and everything else, we have a gated Discord community behind the Smizgang HQ key. Go to smizzle.tv/HQ and you can pick one up on OpenSea. As long as it's in your wallet, you can join our Discord at smizzle.tv/Discord. There will be links right down below in the pinned comment. Make sure that you go check them out. Buy the key, join the Discord, go to the Collabland bot in the Discord, and you will see all of those channels, and you can join our community where we are discussing this pretty much all day, every day. It's one of the most populated channels right now in my Discord server, and I believe that it's going to be a very good way to keep a leg up on the game and discuss it in an adult fashion versus some other Discords that can get wildly out of control. Taking a look at the Legendary Tournament, that lineup costs you $13,000 to build. The payout structure is $20K to first. You have to finish first in week 1 to pay that lineup off. Now, you do get to keep the cards. They are your entry fees. The cards are your entry fees to these tournaments. They are not paid tournaments. If you have 5 cards that can be entered into a lineup, all the tournaments have, all the games in the lobbies have absolutely no fee, right? The fee is owning the cards. That's all you have to do. But those superstar cards that I spoke about, and you can see they're all marked that they have a superstar. If you click on them, you can see, and when you're building the lineups specifically, you can see who's got a superstar on them. They're marked with a glowing S here. The superstar cards, they can only be used in their tier or below. So a ReignMaker card, which I said has 8 of, if you have a legendary superstar card, like I have a legendary Josh Allen, I cannot play him up in the ReignMakers tier. So that's going to increase the scarcity. The power of the superstar cards in each tier is that nobody can pull them up. You can play a superstar down, but if you have a superstar, you're probably going to play it in the tier that it's in because there's going to be similar amount of money, but less runners, less opponents. So if you have a legendary superstar, playing him down in Elite, it's going to be, you're going to take on a lot more risk because you're going to be playing against larger fields every tier that you go down. So I would assume that the majority, the vast majority, like the massive part of the population is going to play their superstars in tier, even though they can play them down 1. But you cannot play them up. So those ReignMaker superstars, their value is that I can take that burrow that I showed you and play him up. There are 50 legendary burrows. There are 8 superstar burrows, making 58 total. There are 8 Josh Allen ReignMaker tier cards. So 58 Joe Burrow possible lineups, only 8 possible Josh Allen lineups across all contests, because every card can only be entered in 1 game. You can't enter these cards. If you have, like I have that Barkley ReignMakers card, if we go to the ReignMaker tier, oh, I have Barkley and Cook, I can't put them in every one of these games. Different from DraftKings Daily Fantasy, where you make a lineup, you can just enter it in every game in the lobby. My 2 ReignMakers cards that I have to pick which contest I want to play, whether it's going to be the ReignMaker 10K winner take all, this tournament here, the 200K tournament up here, and find out where the most EV is for me, whether you want to play the cash game or one of the GPPs, because the cards are your ticket, but the tickets can only be used once. So one superstar per lineup, and a card can only be played once. So you can't have a lineup that has Dalvin Cook and Austin Eckler. You can't have a lineup that has CMC and Jonathan Taylor. So somebody who wants to pay that money to get those super premium cards, they can't have both. They can't have both of those dudes in that one lineup. So you'll never face off against Jonathan Taylor, CMC, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp. It cannot happen as a part of the game. So there's power in the superstar cards per tier, but there's also that limiter in place. So like that's the positive aspect. They could be like 5 times less populous in the GPPs, and we're always concerned as daily fantasy players with having lower held players, lower percentage players. The superstars lock you into that lower percentage on those really powerful, high floor, high ceiling cards. So that's their power, but they're also limited. Taking a look at the lobby and the selection of games that they have, as I said, there's tiers. The high money players are going to play mostly in Reignmaker and Legendary. They're going to dip down and play Elite and Rare and possibly Core if they have the lineups and the time to do it. But there's big games to be played at the Core tier as well. As I said, you can play cards down, but once you play them in a higher tier, you know, and I'm going to be building my Reignmaker first, then I'll build out whatever Legendaries I have left, and then I'm going to build out whatever Elite lineups I have left, and then Rares, and whatever's left, if I have the time, I'll build Core lineups. But they're going to be not watered down, but my collection of cards that I can play that week is going to be taken out of circulation by the cards that I'm playing in the lower population, high dollar tournaments at the higher tiers, leaving kind of the Core tier players to themselves, as the other higher dollar players have been funneled into the lower entry, less runners for the same amount of money up top. It's just more, it's beneficial that they've done this good job of hurting the high dollar players where they're going to be. So if you choose to play in the big game at your tier, and at the Core tier, it's 100K and 4,000 packs added, and you have, like, let's say you have 2 lineups that you can play at Core. You throw your best tournament lineup in this one, those 5 cards cannot be used anywhere else. Now you have a choice. Which one are you going to go after? You're going to go after the V Friends tournament? Are you going to go after, shout out to Gary V, are you going to go after the cash game one? Are you going to go after the Fiat Frenzy? Are you going to be playing Showdown? Let's isolate by the main slate and figure out where you're going to play. Ideally, I think that people are going to choose the games that have the least population, as you can get into the money almost like we chase overlay on a main slate. If in week 1 there is a 100,000 player double up where 50,000 get paid, but only 70,000 people are in that tournament, now all of a sudden you don't have to be in the top 50 percentile of lineups. You really only have to be in the top 57 or 50,000 out of 70,000. It's a lot easier to win money, and I think that we're going to find those opportunities here in Reignmakers. So like just buying the best players, yeah, you could buy the best players, but also there's diminishing returns, as I talked about, especially at the high dollar levels, but even down to the lower levels. It's going to be difficult to put yourself in a position just by spending money that is going to be, putting yourself in a massive advantage versus the field. I think that they've done a really good job kind of keeping it that way. So let's take a look at building a lineup for week 1. Just with what I have on hand, let's go to the Legendary. Let's sort by the main slate here. Taking a look at Legendary, the big tournament. Let's build one for the big tournament. So show my cards only. I'm going to choose one of my quarterbacks to be the superstar. Let's go with Lamar Jackson. He's pretty awesome. That means that I can't use my Derrick Henry Legendary. I'm going to have to probably build a different lineup out of him. I do have a James Conner that I can throw into this lineup. Let's put him there. I've got Lamar Jackson. Might as well pair him with Mark Andrews. I need a wide receiver and a flex. Marquise Brown. And who else do I have? Brandon Ayuk, Bateman, Drake. I got a bunch of players that I could use in this spot. Can I call up another elite? I think I have a Juju that I could call up to pair with those guys and have a nice bring back play. There's a nicely correlated Legendary tier lineup. Lamar Jackson, James Conner, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, Juju Smith-Schuster. Solid. Looking at the Showdown, I've already built a lineup for that one around my Josh Allen Legendary card with Devin Singletary. Right now I have Darrell Henderson Jr. because I don't have another Ram or Bill that I feel comfortable plugging into this lineup. He's best in slot right now. I might change that by the time week 1 gets here. And Allen Robinson called up from Elite to play in the Showdown slate. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell. Let me know how you're feeling about Reignmakers.
He's a legend.